Recording in progress.
So good morning and warm greetings to one and all. Welcome to Malayala Manorama's webinar series on higher studies. So thank you so much for sparing your prime hours of a beautiful Sunday with us. So it's true that many of us had always a dream of studying abroad. So we have with us today two important personalities to share their experiences in this prestigious Harvard University. So one is Mr. Mir Mohammed IAS. As you all know, he's one of the most young bureaucrats we have. So he was born and brought up in Chennai, but he is part of Kerala Cadre IAS. He served variety roles like Collector of Kannur, Director of Survey and Land Records, Kerala Shujitha Mission Executive Director, and till recently he was Secretary / Officer on Special Duty to Kerala Chief Minister. He spearheaded many innovative activities. To specify one, he initiated a campaign called Satyameva Jayate. It was to fight misinformation in social media. It was implemented in Kannur. The campaign was widely acclaimed. So this is just to name one among the several activities he has done. So he is currently on leave for 1 year and doing his master's in public administration at Harvard, that too with a Fulbright scholarship. So the second person with us today is Ms. Kavitha Menon. She is also pursuing master's at Harvard. She is basically from Thrissur. She is an investor with over 13 years of experience investing in global equity markets. Her areas are macroeconomic analysis, financial modeling, equity valuation, investment research, etc. So with the utmost happiness, I welcome both of you. It is just 10 a.m. here, but it is 11:30 p.m. For them. So thank you so much for sparing this time with us. So the format of this webinar will be like this. So first, Kavitha will be speaking. Both of them will be having their opening remarks. So first of all, they will be sharing their experiences. After that, they will go into the procedural aspects of the admission and everything. And after that, the floor will be open for the questions. So those who would like to ask questions, we have two options. If you want to ask questions directly to them, you can raise your hand with hand raise option. You have that option in your mobile phone or laptop. So then we will allow you to speak. And the second option is that you can shoot your questions by typing it on the Q&A box. They will be responding to that questions also. So from now itself, you can send the questions on the Q&A box. And if you want to speak directly, you can hand raise. And hope it is clear. And one more thing, this conference will be recorded. Now over to you, Kavitha and Mir. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Jiku, ഒരുപാട് നന്ദി ഈ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാം സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചത്. സോ ആദ്യം നമുക്ക് കവിതയുടെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാം. കവിതയുടെ ജേർണിയും ഹാർവർഡിലേക്ക് വരുന്ന യാത്രവും മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങൾ, ഹാർവർഡിലെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇതുവരെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് എങ്ങനെ ആയിരുന്നു എന്ന് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാം. അതിനുശേഷം ഞാനും കുറച്ച് സമയം സംസാരിക്കും. ആൻഡ് after that we will go into ജിക്കു പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നമുക്ക് അഡ്മിഷനിന്റെ ഓരോ സ്പെസിഫിക് ഐറ്റം സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഞാനും കവിതയും രണ്ടുപേരും ഒരുമിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കും. സോ കവിത, over to you.
Thanks, Mir. Namaskaram, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us. So ജിക്കുന്റെ ഇൻട്രൊഡക്ഷനിൽ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഞാൻ ഒറിജിനലി തൃശ്ശൂരിനാണ്. തൃശ്ശൂരിൽ ആക്ച്വലി ഒരു പാവർട്ടി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു സ്ഥലത്താണ്. പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ പഠിച്ചതും വളർന്നതും ഒക്കെ മോസ്റ്റ്ലി ചെന്നൈയിലായിരുന്നു. നിങ്ങൾ ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ നിങ്ങളുടെ സിറ്റുവേഷൻസ് അതുപോലെ തന്നെയായിരുന്നു എന്ന് ഇപ്പൊ ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാനൊരു 17-18 ആ ഒരു ഏജിൽ എക്സാക്ട്ലി എന്താവണമെന്ന് ഒരു ക്ലിയർ ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. മാത്സും സയൻസിലും സ്ട്രോങ് ആയിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ശരി, എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആവാം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഡോക്ടർ ആവാം എന്നുള്ള യൂഷ്വൽ റൂട്ട്. അപ്പൊ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ചെയ്തു SRM എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് കോളേജ് ചെന്നൈയില്. Very soon I realized that what sort of inspired me and motivated me was always understanding how businesses work rather than how the products or the services of the businesses work. Apo, instead of continuing in that line, I MBA cheyan decide idu. Adine Bombay lo poita cheyde Narsimon Institute of Management Studies lo. Finance lo specialize idu. Parallelly, I was also doing my chartered financial analyst. So when I graduated from my MBA, it was during the global financial crisis, 2008, 2009 lana yan industry entry na. It was an extremely difficult time, and it was an extremely humbling time to actually get into an industry when the market was in chaos, when the economy was in chaos, and it was a good training period in hindsight for an analyst at that level. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ 3 കൊല്ലം ബോംബെയിലാണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തത് ഓൺ ദ സെൽ സൈഡ് എക്വിറ്റി അനലിസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട്. ദെൻ ഞാൻ സിംഗപ്പൂരിലേക്ക് പോയി ബൈ സൈഡിലേക്ക് മൂവ് ചെയ്തു. ബൈ സൈഡ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ വന്നിട്ട് യു ആർ വർക്കിംഗ് ഇൻ ഫണ്ട്സ് ഹു ആർ ഡിപ്ലോയിങ് ദെയർ ഓൺ ഫണ്ട്സ് ടു ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ് ഇൻ ഗ്ലോബൽ സ്റ്റോക്ക് മാർക്കറ്റ്സ്, because my specialization was in global equities. Singapore, like I worked with 2 funds, like both on the private investment side and at the last fund, research team na head yearno. And it was probably around this time, I would say around 2018, 2019, when I started questioning beyond what could I do more. And that what set me on this path, like which has brought me to Harvard. And that was kind of like, it kind of matched the time that I became a mother as well. That I wanted to understand what was the impact of the work I did beyond creating financial return for people who already were millionaires or billionaires in their own right. And I wanted to understand the positive outcome that I could generate with my work. Apo decided to pivot, decided to move into responsible investing, into impact investing. Apo when I started that in Singapore, I realized that I needed to beef up my knowledge skills around these policy issues. Pinne ingante sort of work undertaking, you're dealing with multiple stakeholders. You're dealing with bureaucrats, you're dealing with politicians, you're dealing with your non-profits, activists, you're dealing with media. So angante oru system like enganeyana ingane stakeholders aite engage cheyanda, how do you bring them all on board, how do you make a movement together? Appo adu understand cheyan venditairunnu Harvard application idokke cheythu. I'd applied to a couple of colleges. Like other than this, I'd also applied to London School of Economics. I managed to get into Harvard and decided to pursue my higher education here. This was my second master's, but my first one abroad. And I can definitely say it's very different from all my experiences of studying in India. And Mir specifically mentioned about 4-5 months, what has completely stood out for me. I think it's just the diversity of nationalities and diversity of thought that you actually get to engage with on a platform of this scale. It's just unimaginable. I come with experiences Indialum, Singaporelum work cheythu. So Singapore, it was I would say a cosmopolitan sort of environment that I worked in, but still we have more than students from more than 60 countries in this course. And in terms of experiences that they bring to the table also is extremely different, and all of it very, very impactful. So it's a lot of inspiring people that you get to study with. And more importantly, you are in an environment which actually encourages you to think beyond yourself, and ask what you can do for the society, for the country, for the betterment of your industry. So which again puts you into that perspective of let's think beyond just your immediate paycheck and immediate salary and the next bonus. So that's the experience for me. Happy to kind of dig into the whole process further. Pasha, let's hear from Mir.
Thank you, Kavitha. So very quickly about me. So I've also grown up in Chennai, maybe around the same time Kavitha grew up there, but didn't get to meet her at that time. So I did my engineering, like all South Indians who have decent marks in science and math do. So, but I did not like my engineering very much. So adukondu engineering finish ayidna sesham engineering vittittu vera edavadhu one cheyanamennu oru valiya aagraham enakku. ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ ആഗ്രഹത്തിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് ആദ്യം പത്രക്കാരനാവാൻ എന്ന ഒരു താല്പര്യമുണ്ടായി. ബട്ട് ആ ഒരു ജേർണിയിൽ സിവിൽ സർവീസസിന്റെ ഒരു അറ്റംപ്റ്റ് ഞാൻ തുടങ്ങി. ആൻഡ് ഏതോ ലക്കായിരുന്നു എന്തായിരുന്നു എന്ന് അറിയത്തില്ല, ബട്ട് ഐ ഗോട്ട് ഇൻ. സോ സിവിൽ സർവീസിലേക്ക് കയറിയ ശേഷം കേരളത്തിൽ ഇപ്പോ ഏകദേശം ഒരു 8 വർഷം ഞാൻ താമസിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഐ ഹവ് സെർവ്ഡ് ഇൻ കണ്ണൂർ, തൃശൂർ, കാലിക്കറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം. ആൻഡ് സോ ഞാൻ മാസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല, ബിക്കോസ് ഞാൻ വെൻ ഐ വാസ് ഇൻ കോളേജ് അപ്പൊ എന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ് എല്ലാം MS ചെയ്യാൻ എല്ലാം ഒരു തയ്യാറെടുപ്പിലുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് അവര് ഞാൻ ക്ലാസ്സിലായിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ they'll be writing their SOPs, അവരുടെ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെന്റ്സ് ഓഫ് പർപ്പസും മറ്റ് ദെൻ കുറച്ച് ക്ലാസ്മേറ്റ് GRE പ്രിപ്പറേഷനിൽ വളരെ ബിസി ആയിരിക്കും. പക്ഷെ ആ സമയം MS ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു സാധ്യത ഞാൻ എന്റെ ഭാവിയിൽ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ല. So I just left it, and it was always an unrealized dream for me to actually go abroad, study at a premier institution. ആ ഒരു എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് കിട്ടണമെന്ന ഒരു ആഗ്രഹം നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും പോലെ എനിക്കും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആൻഡ് ബട്ട് അതിന്റെ ഒരു ആവന്യൂ എനിക്ക് ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ട് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് എന്റെ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് മാർക്സിന്റെ ബേസിസിൽ ഞാൻ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്താൽ ഒരു സാധ്യതയില്ല അഡ്മിഷൻ കിട്ടാൻ. So I piled up, I think, around 8-9 years of solid work experience in Kerala. Maybe some of you are from Kannur, you may be familiar with some of the work that I've done there. And our experience in the basis il njan ivide apply chedu. Then GRE matta exam etc eldan vendi vannu, and I've done that as well. I was very lucky also because I got a Fulbright scholarship. Idu oru prestigious scholarship ana, which almost provides for the full funding of the for your program here. So degrees abroad are very expensive, and so if whatever support we can get from wherever we can, it's always helpful. Our scholarship sambandhichu nan kudal details I'll share with you. So I have been here for the past 4 months now, and it's been great. It's been first of all very exciting, Anna, because always wanted to sort of study in a prestigious university, and I was very happy that our prestigious university and Parnell Harvard University's name is always there. It is a big brand at the end of the day. And so ഇവിടെ വന്നിട്ട് ആദ്യത്തെ 2 മാസം നോർമൽ ക്ലാസ്സസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഇപ്പോ ഈ കോഴ്സ് ഞങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന കോഴ്സിൽ ഇറ്റ്സ് കോൾഡ് ദ മിഡ് കരിയർ മാസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഇൻ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ. ഈ കോഴ്സിൽ ഒരു 240 പേരുണ്ട്. സോ ആദ്യത്തെ 1 മാസം എല്ലാം 240 പേർ ഒരു ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഉണ്ടാവും, കോമൺ കോഴ്സസ് ആയിരിക്കും. ബട്ട് ആഫ്റ്റർ ദാറ്റ് യു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് പിക്കിംഗ് അപ്പ് യുവർ ഓൺ കോഴ്സസ്. 100ഓളം കോഴ്സുകൾ ഉണ്ടാവും. യു സെലക്ട് 4 or 5 കോഴ്സസ് ദാറ്റ് യു വാണ്ട് ടു ഡു, and then you attend those classes separately. So ആ 240 പേർ വീണ്ടും ഒരുമിച്ച് വരത്തില്ല. You will meet them in different classes based on what you've selected. In terms of learning experience here, ഒരു ഡിഫറെന്റ് ഫോമാറ്റ് തന്നെയാണ്. ഇൻ ദ സെൻസ് ദാറ്റ് വീക്ക്ലി അസൈൻമെന്റ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ എവറി സാറ്റർഡേ ഒരു ഡെഡ് ലൈൻ ഉണ്ടാവും, ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എവറി തേഴ്സ്ഡേ ഒരു ഡെഡ് ലൈൻ ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ എവറി വീക്ക് യു ആർ ഓൾവേസ് അപ് ടു സംതിങ് ഓർ ദി അതർ that you're writing down, you're submitting assignments or you're creating. So കുറച്ച് കോഴ്സ് വീഡിയോ അസൈൻമെന്റ് ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ നിങ്ങൾ വീഡിയോ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യണം. ദെൻ ഓരോ ക്ലാസ്സിന് മുൻപ് റീഡിങ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ യു ഹാവ് ടു റീഡ് ദോസ്. ഒരു 5-6 റീഡിങ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ റീഡിങ്സ് വായിച്ചിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ക്ലാസ്സിലേക്ക് വന്നാൽ നമുക്ക് ആ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പാർട്ടിസിപ്പേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. ദെൻ ഡൈവേഴ്സിറ്റി, ലൈക്ക് കവിത സെഡ്, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഐ തിങ്ക് വൺ ഓഫ് ദ ഗ്രേറ്റസ്റ്റ് സ്ട്രെങ്ത്സ് ഓഫ് സ്റ്റഡിങ് ഹിയർ. നമ്മൾ ക്ലാസ്സിലിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ 60 രാജ്യങ്ങളുടെ പൗരന്മാർ നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസ്സിലുണ്ടാവും. സോ നമ്മൾ ഒരു കാര്യം സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ 60 പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ്, വേറെ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ഞങ്ങൾ വിചാരിക്കാതെ കുറെ പോയിന്റ്സ് അവർ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പറയും. ദെൻ എല്ലാവരും ഭയങ്കര ബോൾഡാണ്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇൻ ദ സെൻസ് ദാറ്റ് നിങ്ങൾ പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ സംബന്ധിച്ച് അവർക്ക് ഒരു എതിർപ്പാണെങ്കിൽ അപ്പോൾ തന്നെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ തന്നെ പറയും. വി മേ നോട്ട് ബി വെരി യൂസ് ടു ദാറ്റ്. ദെൻ പ്രൊഫസറിനെ ഭയങ്കരമായി ആൾക്കാർ ചാലഞ്ചും ചെയ്യും. സോ പ്രൊഫസർ ഒരു കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞാൽ അത് കേൾക്കണം എന്ന് യാതൊരു ആവശ്യമില്ല. വാട്ട് എവർ എനിബഡി ഫീൽസ് ഓൺ എ പർട്ടിക്കുലർ സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ദേ വിൽ സ്പീക്ക്. Then finally, I would say, I'll just say 2 more things. One is the cohort. Cohort എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് it is a general term which is used for your classmates. ഇപ്പോ ഞാനും കവിത ഒരു കോഹോർട്ടിന്റെ ഭാഗമാണ്, റൈറ്റ്? സോ ആ കോഹോർട്ട്, നമ്മുടെ കോഹോർട്ടിന്റെ സ്ട്രെങ്ത് ഇപ്പോൾ 240. ആ കോഹോർട്ടിൽ തന്നെ നോക്കിയാൽ ഇപ്പോ എല്ലാ ഫീൽഡ്സിന്റെ ആൾക്കാർ ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷന്റെ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകത ഏതാണ്? ദാറ്റ് പീപ്പിൾ ഫ്രം ഓൾ ഫീൽഡ്സ് can come in. Kavitha is from a clear-cut finance background. I am from a public service background. Somebody else will be from some consultancy. Journalists undavam, lawyers undavam, doctors undavam. Because doctor public health public health is part of public administration, right? So some of the most, let me just tell you 2 or 3 of our, I would say our star classmates who are there. So one of them, for instance, is the former vice president of Ecuador. So Ecuador Rajathinte vice president ana, so former vice president, 2 varsham munbu thane vice president ayino. So now he's sitting in class with us. So that is one. Then one more I would like to probably say is the deputy mayor of Kiev. Ukraine in the capital Kiev in the deputy mayor. Ippo ayirnu. Just ee course thodangunnadinu munbu he was deputy mayor. Our deputy mayorship ittittu he has come to study over here. So all in the perspective it will be completely different idea. Our yuddham nadakkumbol engane local administration manage chedu aa karyangal etc avarku samsarikkan pattum. Then adapole thanne vera vera vyakti undu who has worked on some 5 or 6 US presidential campaigns. So US presidential campaign le work chedoru vyakti ana. Then Costa Rica ena oru cheriya country undu aa cheriya rajathinte foreign minister for foreign trade nammude classmate ana. So like this is very interesting, you know, you get to meet all these people and have conversations with them and have lunch, have coffee, and you keep learning something every time, and that I think is one of the most exciting parts for me. And also if you look at the alumni of the program, that is program il padicha alumni inde karyam ningal nokkiyal ippor nilavil Singapore and the Prime Minister is an alumni of this program. Then I think the President of Liberia is the President of Liberia, the current President of Moldova, many former Mexican presidents have all people who have passed through this particular program. So that's also it's a great feeling, you know, to be doing the same course, going through going through the same process that all of them did. So yeah, so I think so that's been my experience so far. And I think now we will move into some of the procedural aspects of the thing. I'm going to just open up the Q&A and see if we can also answer some of those. Okay, so I think we will we will go with the general approach first. For admission sambandhichu also I'm going to ask Kavitha a bunch of questions and we will hear Kavitha's answer, and if I have to add anything to that I'll do that. So Kavitha, can we start off with talking about the admission process to say the Kennedy School?
Sure. So it's very streamlined actually, exactly in terms of requirements and the or application process like, you know, website clearly stated, especially important to follow is the deadlines because they're very strict about it. And also foreign universities multiple admission cycle cycle, and you can only apply to one program. So you need to be very, very clear in terms of what you're trying to do and why you want to do that program. And specifics within that, like, you know, you have I would say primary focus. There are 3-4 things. One is the admission essays. It depends upon the course and apply. So we have like the MPP, like an MPA, which are the 2-year programs. You also have the MPAID, which is international development, and ഒരു quantitative lens course another. Mir course, which is a mid-career MPA program. So depending upon the course, like, you know, you would have different kind of essay questions that you will have to answer. Most of it will have word limits as well, anything from 250 to 500 words. But just to give you a general perspective in terms of so career goals, what do you want to achieve, like, you know, and your professional experience and, like, you know, achievement, separate essay. There'll be like, they kind of try to also understand, like, you know, perspectives in terms of difficult situations that you have encountered in life where you didn't live up to your own expectation, and what did you learn from such situation. So these are just some examples that I'm giving you. But like, you know, there will be, that is a main component, because take it like that's the way that, like, the admissions committee gets to know who you are more than, like, you know, what they can understand from your resume. Second one is, so that would be primarily your statement of purpose of why you want to get into the course. Pinna another two things which are important is, one is your references. So there are three, like depending upon the course again, mostly they would need like, professional or academic references depending upon the stage learner. If you are like a recent master's student or like, with like say less than 5 years experience, I would assume that they would require like, academic references as well. Either again, like what I would like to point and highlight is, it's not about like who you know and how, sort of influential that person is. It's about how well that person knows you and what they can bring in, like what perspectives can they bring in into that, like, reference in terms of like, this is what I know about Mir. Mir has handled these projects. I have like, overseen it, or like, I have worked with Mir on something like this, and, he's phenomenal at this. And, these are things that, where he, he brought in value to the team. So that's like an insight rather than like, yeah, I know this person, and that like, just because he happens to be, a UN representative or a chief minister or a prime minister is not really going to do the work here. It's more about people who know you and like, people who can vouch for you and what you bring to the table at Harvard. So that would be at least like two or three essays. And another thing is like, obviously your standardized tests and also like, English language requirements. So it depends, like, fully English medium lana padichirikkanenchal and like, exams English medium most likely TOEFL or IELTS in the requirement undavilla. And like, depending like, after they've gone through your application, they might come back and say you might need it. But GRE GMAT is again another way that like, you can sort of differentiate your application. It is not a requirement for certain courses, but again, it's one of the ways for them to assess apart from your academic transcripts. So if you feel that like, at some point there was a break in your academic journey, or there was reasons why you didn't perform very well, there's also an optional essay that they kind of give you for you to give context to your journey and, your life, because it's very difficult for you to do that like with a 500 word sort of limit. So all of these are options for the admission committee to get you as a candidate, to get to know you better. Mir, have I missed anything?
No, the very comprehensive. I would just like to add one thing to that. So I think Kavitha has covered like the admission process happens through essays, basically, right? So essays, recommendations, essays you ningalde sambandhichu ningalde work sambandhichu karyangal ningal avada representing. Recommendations are basically confirming these things. Because we can write whatever we want about ourselves, but recommenders are basically other people who are vouching that what you're saying is right. That yes, ipo itra karyangal cheyidu enna ningalde essay le parayunu. Your recommender is basically confirming that. One more thing I would like to add is that ipo currently the admission cycle is on. December 1st is the deadline. And I know this is too late probably to start an application if you haven't already thought about it. Ipo immediate apply adutha varsham poganulla oru tayarapple undavilla, but what I would strongly suggest is please go and check it out. Okay, I have posted the link in the chat. Harvard Kennedy School inde website le poite avade apply now enna oru option undav. Naan chat le post cheyittund. Apply now poite you start a form, don't submit it. Okay, don't submit it, just start the form. Essays try to start visualizing what kind of essays you want to write, to what extent you can fulfill those roles. They will ask you for a resume as well. Okay, resume building valare very important karyamana. Resume building in the karyathil what I want to tell all of you is you may not be applying this year or the next year. Your application may come much later. Ipo ivide chat box than nokumbol 9th standard over kuttim ivide undu, right? So what I would tell you, what I would strongly recommend is, as soon as you start your college, you should start building a resume. Building a resume na parnal ningal edha courses attend ayinu, ningal edha internships edukonu, internships ningal endha padikunu, then cheriya training programs you will attend. In your mind you may think idu vallata or training program ana varde poi attend edanga ningalku thonum, but don't look at it that way. ഏത് ചെറിയ ട്രെയിനിങ് പ്രോഗ്രാം ആണെങ്കിലും ആ ട്രെയിനിങ് പ്രോഗ്രാം നിങ്ങൾ എന്താ പഠിച്ചോ അതിന്റെ സബ്ജക്ട് എന്തായിരുന്നു, വാട്ട് ആർ ദ കീ ടേക്ക് അവേസ് ഫ്രം ദാറ്റ്, അതെല്ലാം നോട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒരു റെസ്യൂമെ ബിൽഡപ്പ് നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യണം. ബിക്കോസ് അറ്റ് ദി എൻഡ് ഓഫ് ദ ഡേ വെൻ ദേ ആസ്ക് യു ഫോർ എ റെസ്യൂമെ, ഞാൻ ഈ കോളേജിൽ പഠിച്ചു, ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ സ്കൂളിലേക്ക് പോയി, ഇവിടെ ജോലി ചെയ്തു, ഇത് എന്റെ 12th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് മാർക്കാണ്, ഇത് എന്റെ 10th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് മാർക്കാണ്, അത് മാത്രം വെച്ചിട്ട് നമ്മൾ മുന്നോട്ട് പോയാൽ യു certainly lose out to the competition. Okay, so you have to have much more value on your in terms of documentation. ഈ ഒരു കാര്യം ഇന്ത്യയിലെ നമ്മൾ സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ ചെയ്യാറില്ല. ഞാൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ജീവിതത്തിൽ I had to make a new resume 10 years after working in the government. Honestly പറഞ്ഞാൽ വലിയൊരു തലവേദനയായിരുന്നു അത്. If you start at the beginning itself, it's always good and it's always beneficial. Okay. All right, so next one, Kavitha, do you want to say something about funding, about job prospects, visas? Is that something that you want to cover?
Sure. Funding actually, it's an important thing. And even just, I want to piggyback on what Mir said. Admission cycle, even if it's late. But they do a lot of calls. Admissions committee of different courses. Apply and I would recommend at least listening to these recordings of these calls in case the timings don't work for you, so that you get a sense of what these programs are and what does the application process entail, and that kind of helps you prepare for next year. That's one. So second, if funding lot of information about local, that is what is available from the university, and that is a lot. There are lots of avenues within the university where depending upon your work background, depending upon your academic background, for example, for administrative services full public service, if you've made a tangible impact in terms of actual service to the country through public service. You have people with very good I would say academic background and strong professional background, you have scholarships which comes from directly from the dean, which comes from John F. Kennedy scholarships. So these are given to selected students. You have the Fulbright scholar, which Mir can speak more about. Other you have from different countries, and these are very prestigious scholarships. But within Howard, there are a lot of these initiatives and institutes, Center for Public Leadership, fellowships and now. Depending upon the country that you come from. For example, India specific, funding even down, and most of these information that you will, at least a Harvard affiliated ones, application process you will know what all are there. And the important thing is you will have to tailor your essays for these funding, depending upon who who the organization, the funding organization is, so that they understand why you are the apt candidate for them to fund. And outside sources, I would say Amir, you will have to back me up here, in terms of specifically in India, what options do people have. But we do have a lot of people who have come with funding from organizations as well, with the intention that there is even if it's private organization who have come here with at least partial or full funding, and with plans to sort of go back to that consulting background, or to go back to one of the Fortune 500 companies. So that's some of the things that I can think of. And maybe you should talk about the Fulbright.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Kavitha. And I'm just posting here for all your information. I'm just posting a link this is from the Fulbright page. This has a list of the different people who are doing the Fulbright Fellowship this year, the Fulbright Nehru Masters Fellowship. Ade samayam, I'm also going to just give me 1 second. I'm also going to just quickly post ഒരുപാട് കാറ്റഗറീസ് ഉണ്ട് Fulbright. For example, ഞാനിപ്പോൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത് it's under public administration, but there are under public health there is a fellowship under 1 second. Here we go. Okay, so when you have some time, have a look at this. Have a look at these links. Go to usief.org.in, and here you will have all the details of the Fulbright related fellowships. So in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I'll very quickly valare pettannu njan ee Fulbright fellowship endana enna njan parayam. So Fulbright fellowship is basically 1950s the Indian government and the American government came to an agreement that കുറച്ച് ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് നമുക്ക് അമേരിക്കയിലേക്ക് അയക്കാം, കുറച്ച് അമേരിക്കൻ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് അയക്കാം, so that both of them can study about each other's cultures, about this thing, to create a common understanding. Okay, so ആ ഒരു ബേസിസിലാണ് ഈ ഫെലോഷിപ്പ് തുടങ്ങിയത്. And there are similar agreements with the United States as with multiple other countries. So every year in the month of March, the Fulbright US India Education Foundation, USIEF, calls for applications. So ഈ വർഷത്തിന്റെ ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞു. So അടുത്ത വർഷം മാർച്ച് മാസത്തിൽ അവർ അപേക്ഷകൾ ക്ഷണിക്കും, ഈ വെബ്സൈറ്റിൽ ക്ഷണിക്കും, in which again you have to write essays, you have to give your resume, and if you're shortlisted you have to go for an interview. Okay, അത് ഏത് കാറ്റഗറിയിലാണ് അതെല്ലാം വെബ്സൈറ്റിൽ ഉണ്ടാവും, വളരെ ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. You just have to go to the website and you can read it. Okay, so you will know ഏത് കാറ്റഗറിയിലുണ്ട്, ഏത് ഡേറ്റ് ആണ് ഡെഡ്ലൈൻ, അതനുസരിച്ച് you have to fill up your form and submit it. The form submission is free. Then അതിനുശേഷം അവർ മെയ് മാസത്തിൽ ഒരു ഇന്റർവ്യൂലേക്ക്, മെയ് ജൂൺ മാസത്തിൽ ഷോർട്ട് ലിസ്റ്റിംഗ് ചെയ്യും, ഇന്റർവ്യൂലേക്ക് ക്ഷണിക്കും, and by August you will know whether you are through or not. Then your admission cycle begins. One thing all of you need to understand about admissions is that there are 2 or 3 separate parts of the process here. One part is the admission, which is university admission namakku kittiyo illiyo ennu. Adu oru aspect aanu. Pakshe adu maatram kittittu karyamilla, because adu kuda namakku funding undavum. If you have money, your parents can fund you, or you can arrange for the finances one way or the other. Valare nalla karyamana. Suppose angane cheyan namakku sadhyatha illengil, അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള സാധ്യത ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ, then you have to depend on funding. ഒരുപാട് ആൾക്കാർ നമുക്കറിയാം who have admission but no funding, അതുകൊണ്ട് അവർക്ക് ഇവിടെ വരാൻ സാധിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. So Fulbright is one avenue. അതുകൂടാതെ there is a Tata Trust fellowship is there. There is a Mahindra fellowship which is available. Then in addition to that, there's another one that is, I'm not remembering the name right now. So like that, there are 4 or 5 other agencies also that provide it. Then for specific courses, like there's a course called MPAID, Master of Public Administration and International Development. Adu oru valare math intensive course aanu. Math intensive courses have a much higher employment opportunity here in the US. So these math oriented courses have a separate scholarship called the Joint Japan Scholarship. അത് കൂടാതെ കവിത പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ ഹാർവർഡ് യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിൽ തന്നെ ഒരുപാട് സ്കോളർഷിപ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. സോ യു വിൽ റൈറ്റ് വൺ സെറ്റ് ഓഫ് അഡ്മിഷൻ എസ്സേസ് ടു ഗെറ്റ് അഡ്മിഷൻ, ദെൻ യു വിൽ റൈറ്റ് അനദർ ബഞ്ച് ഓഫ് സ്കോളർഷിപ്പ് എസ്സേസ് ടു ഗെറ്റ് ഫണ്ടിങ്. Okay, so that's another aspect of it. Then obviously there is, after that you have to apply for a visa, and another thing you need to remember is getting a degree does not mean landing a job. Right? After that you have to start doing networking, and then you come to if you're taking a break from your job, going back to the job, that's a different aspect. But if you're looking for a career in the States, then you have to find that aspect as well. Obviously, if you have a degree from here, it makes a big difference. But at the same time, it's a journey that you have to go through. I would like to quickly just talk to you about GRE and TOEFL as well, because they are necessary for admissions over here. One or two courses may say GRE is not necessary, but it is still possible. It is still possible for you to update your GRE score. So I would suggest that everybody, a high GRE score helps. Get a good GRE score, get a good TOEFL score. It always helps. So TOEFL endana GRE endana valare simple. Ningal just YouTube like povuga, what is TOEFL enna 2-3 video kanuga, what is GRE enna 2-3 video kanuga, and you will understand that basically the enda, right? GRE is basically English and maths up to 10th standard, and TOEFL is just English. Same or 10th 12th standard level English aayirikkum, not more than that. It's not very difficult, and if you have gone through a basic education in India, you'll be in a very good position to answer the questions there and get a good and get a good score. One more thing is that when you are I would urge all of you to do while you're building your profile is please indulge in a lot of extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities in Parnal, if it's a sport you want to play, if it is a musical instrument you want to learn, if it is an organization you want to be part of, നിങ്ങളുടെ പരിസരത്തിൽ ഒരു ചെറിയ ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ നല്ല വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ യു ജോയിൻ ദാറ്റ് ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ. അവരുടെ കൂടെ നിങ്ങൾ വോളണ്ടിയറിങ് ചെയ്യുക. നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്കോപ്പ് ഓഫ് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസസ് നിങ്ങൾ എക്സ്പാൻഡ് ചെയ്യണം. ഓക്കെ നമ്മ സ്കൂൾ പോകുന്നു, കോളേജ് പോകുന്നു, തിരിച്ചു വരുന്നു, അടുത്ത എക്സാമിലേക്ക് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്നു, ദെൻ അടുത്ത സെമസ്റ്റർ. ആ ഒരു സൈക്കിൾ എല്ലാവരും ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെ ഡിഫറൻഷിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് മറ്റവരുടെ കൂടെ, റൈറ്റ്? ഹൗ ആർ യു ഡിഫറൻഷിയേറ്റിംഗ് യുവർ സെൽഫ് ഫ്രം ദി അതേഴ്സ്? അത് വളരെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ആണ്. ആൻഡ് എത്രത്തോളം നിങ്ങൾ സൊസൈറ്റിയുമായി എൻഗേജ് ചെയ്യും, അത്ര ഒരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അഡ്മിഷനിൽ ഉണ്ടാവും. രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ട്. ഒന്ന്, നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു ഇനിഷ്യേറ്റീവ് എടുക്കുന്ന വ്യക്തി എന്ന് അഡ്മിഷൻസ് കമ്മിറ്റിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും. അതുകൂടാതെ നിങ്ങളുടെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസസ് കുറച്ച് വേരിഡ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി നിങ്ങളുടെ എസ്സേസിൽ ഒരു ഡെപ്തും ഒരു മെച്ചൂരിറ്റി വരും, റൈറ്റ്? സോ ഇഫ് യു ഹാവ് മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസസ്, it always helps. So please do that. Try to volunteer, try to this thing, try to partner with the my suggestion would be ipo ningalde jillal thanne ipo whether it's your maybe it's your tehsildar's office or your SDM office അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കളക്ടർ ഓഫീസുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടിട്ട് ഏതാണ്ട് ഒരു ചെറിയ വർക്ക് നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള സാധ്യത ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ അത് ചെയ്യുക. സാധ്യത ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു this is one good thing about Harvard that I would like to tell you. One thing that you keep hearing over here, if you complain about something, if you say that this is not there and that is not there and this needs to be done and that needs to be done, nama aa oru language samsarikkumbol ivide oru marubadi kittunathu. Appo why don't you start it? Ipo why don't you start something? Suppose I say that, see, we are not, I don't think the university is covering a particular subject very seriously, ee oru subject il avashamulla shraddha ivide kananilla ennu parayumbol, they'll say, why don't you bring attention to it? Why don't you do something about it? Immediately the ball just goes into your in your court, and valare natural aayittu adu ivide varum. So yeah, so take that initiative. That's another thing that you should practice, writing to people. Start writing to people. If you feel that there's an opportunity you want, create the opportunity. Even if you don't get the opportunity, your attempt itself is very beneficial for you. Write to your district collector and say, I want to do a 1 month or a 2-week internship over there. I want to come and observe this, observe that. Maybe your collector doesn't have an idea, but once she gets your mail, she may think that, okay, it's great. Let's bring so and so over and see what can be done. So I would try to get that varied experience through prior to your admissions. And one final thing is, I'll say 2 more things very quickly. One is with regards to getting certifications for your extracurricular work. That is extremely important. Okay, if you like to play music, please see if you can get some sort of certification, whether there's a certification level. If you're learning a language, let's say you're learning Chinese, let us say, okay, or you're learning French, whatever. So ningal either language padikunu adinte oru basic certification ningal vaanganam, because angane cheyyumbol you can submit it along with your you can include it in your essays and say that I'm njan oru valare oru diversified interest ulla oru individual ana. I've studied French up to this level, I've done this up to this level, etc. na parayumbol it adds credibility to your application, as opposed to saying that njan French padichu, French samsarikkan enak ariyam. Pakshe when you get a certification, that actually makes a big difference. And one more point is regarding academic engagement. This is very important for all of you, because many of us come from places, I think all of us, I think when we are looking at applying to a foreign university, we are always thinking that nammade admission engane nadakkum, njan oru cheriya town illana, njan oru cheriya city illana, how is that possible? Then matta valiya universities umai enakku engane compete cheyan sadhikkum. So you'll have all these concerns in your mind. Ipo udaharanathinu you are competing to get into Harvard with another person who's just done a degree at Stanford University and another person who's done a degree at Oxford University. So avaromai you're also competing, right? So one way to elevate your profile among all these people is for you to do a lot of writing. Okay, you can start off by sending articles to the local newspaper. You can publish it on a website, and you can present papers at a conference, or you can submit articles to journals. All of these things may seem difficult, but once you get started, they're not difficult at all. Okay, you should see how you can build your profile. The reason I'm asking you this is, one thing that foreign universities want is to see your academic ability. Ningalde ഈ ഒരു academic environment നിങ്ങൾക്ക് succeed ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ ഇല്ലയോ. നിങ്ങൾ individually brilliant ആയിരിക്കും, പക്ഷെ ഈ ഒരു സെറ്റിംഗിൽ ഒരുപാട് അസൈൻമെന്റ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും, ഒരുപാട് എൻഗേജ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ടാവും, ഒരുപാട് പ്രഷേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് സക്സീഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ ഇല്ലയോ. ആൻഡ് വൺ ഗ്രേറ്റ് വേ ദാറ്റ് ദേ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് ടു ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് യുവർ അക്കാഡമിക് ഔട്ട്പുട്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് യങ്, റൈറ്റ് സംതിങ്. നിങ്ങൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ എഴുതണമെങ്കിൽ മലയാളത്തിൽ എഴുതാം, send something to your local newspaper, get something published. നിങ്ങളുടെ പേരും നിങ്ങളുടെ പേരിന്റെ കൂടെ കുറെ publication ഉണ്ടാവും. Publication എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു പുസ്തകം പബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്യാൻ എന്ന് പറയാനല്ല. I'm saying ചെറിയ articles publish ചെയ്യുക, opinion publish ചെയ്യുക. If you want to present an overview of a particular issue, you please go ahead and do that. Right? So that way what happens, you start building your personality, you start building your skill set, and it's easier for you to make an impression on the admissions committee. Okay, so Kavitha, do you want to add anything at this point, or shall we just go to the Q&A box and start going through the questions?
I think let's do that. Let's open the Q&A.
There are 65 questions. Okay, and there are a few hands up as well. I think the hands, I'm going to request you to I'll just take one, because I think Joju from Trishur is a place I've also been posted in, so I'm going to just ask him to speak. Okay, Joju, do you want to go ahead?
Joju ne unmute ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Yes sir.
Hi
Sir, very good morning sir. This is Joju Matthew from Trishur. After a very long time I happen to see you.
Great, good to see you too. I can't see you, but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, we met in Trishur Tennis Club several times.
Okay. Great.
So hope you're doing well. Fine. Sir,
Yeah.
Today I just want to know, my niece is going through NEET.
Okay.
For her MBBS.
Okay.
So how it helps us for her to do in abroad, like Harvard?
Okay. So so if you're doing your MBBS, after you're done with, if you want to move to, say, there's obviously the Harvard Medical School, where she can come and study. There's also the TH Chan School of Public Health, where a lot of doctors go. Public health is one of the up and coming, especially in the context of the pandemic. Pandemic, etc. Public health professionals, many of them have an MBBS background, so that's an area which she can certainly explore. Public health is an area that's even covered by the Fulbright scholarship. So after she has done her MBBS, she can certainly think about doing a master's over here.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you're also there. Okay, great. Thanks, Joju. Nice to listen.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. So let's go to the Q&A box. So Kavitha, let us start with the first. Okay. Do you apply for scholarships before? Are these in order? Because I want to answer the first questions first.
But I think we have lots of questions. I think it is
Okay.
almost 71.
Okay. So we're going to start with
Club B.
22.
Club B the answer ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും എളുപ്പം എന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു.
Okay. Do you apply for the scholarships before your application is accepted by a college? Kavitha, you want to answer that?
Yes.
Just keep it short.
So quickly, yes, you would have to apply for scholarships well before you know, the end result of your application. Most of the scholarships, you'll have to closely watch the deadlines, because if you miss it, you miss that opportunity for that admission cycle.
I'm just going to quickly add something to that. Two types of scholarships: internal, external. Okay, so internal scholarship angle, if Harvard University in the scholarship angle, you will have to apply for the scholarship before you know whether you have the admission or not, which is what you're asking the question. Rendamatha karyam, there are scholarships which are ready to give you support after you secure an admission. ആ കേസിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അഡ്മിഷൻ കിട്ടുന്ന ശേഷം ആ ഓഫർ ഓഫ് അഡ്മിഷൻ വെച്ചിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ സ്കോളർഷിപ്പിന് വേണ്ടി നിങ്ങൾ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യും. Okay, all right, so that is done. Then is experience in public crucial for admission into the HKS MPP? So MPP is a program for students with less than 2 years experience. Internship experience also is counted as experience. So MPP public service experience is not crucial. In fact, public service experience is not crucial to get into HKS. For example, you can take Kavitha. Kavitha is a finance professional, right? She has worked mostly in the private sector. I have worked only in the public sector, but both of us are there, right? Because the solutions to the world's problems are not to be solved only by one or the other. It requires a mix of views and a mix of people, right? So that's your question. Going abroad to study after 12th or doing the masters? Kavitha, any views on this?
Actually, I don't think there's like a perfect time to go abroad.
Yeah.
Like, it's more about why do you want to go? I would actually focus more on that rather than whether it's for like this masters. I don't think like there's a magic answer for that. what are you trying to achieve? Because if it's something like related to science, I would say, like, if you're looking at potentially research opportunities in the future, like I would generally advise that it's better to sort of look for opportunities abroad at a very early stage. But I studied like all the way in India, my bachelor's and master's, and like it was pretty late in my life that I decided to pursue a degree abroad.
Great. So I'll just add to that. My general view on this is that the bachelor's courses over here are extremely expensive. And the bachelor's degree in a 3 varsham 4 varsham degree ana. So you're spending thousands of dollars every year. If you can afford it, go for it. But the master's courses are generously supported by scholarships. Okay, so bachelor's courses scholarships atra kittilla, master's courses or pada kittum. So if affordability is an issue and the master's course makes a lot more sense because there's a lot of support for it. All right. Then what all things should we do during undergraduation so that chances of getting accepted at a place like Harvard is higher? Kavitha, anything?
I think you've touched upon a lot of things, like in terms of like thinking about like resume building right from a very young age, and like having a sort of focus in towards like, sort of like if there is a particular purpose or like something that you're shooting for, and sort of like, and don't try to fit yourself into like Harvard. Make Harvard fit into your like, your needs and your profile and what you are trying to do in your life. And so that's very important because it doesn't have to be Harvard. Like, I do understand we're talking about Harvard here. It could be any other universities as well,
Yes.
where you think like, you want to study abroad. But so always make the university fit into what you are trying to achieve, like, and what your aspirations are.
Perfect. So just to add to that, one thing I would tell all of you, please do this because I probably didn't do it when I was in college. Study well. Okay, get good marks. Your marks really matter. All right. The only reason I'm probably here is because I have 10 years of work experience, and based on the 10 years of work experience, they felt that marks ignore. And I think that's what happened with me. But please take your undergraduation very seriously. Your marks really matter because you're going to upload your transcripts. Maybe if they had told, I don't know if I would have done anything differently if they told me also, but still, I did not realize when I was taking things casually in my undergraduation that 10 years later, I will be uploading those transcripts, those scanned transcripts, and I'll be judged on that. Right. So please, please understand this is an academic degree, and you have to be good at academics. The better you are at academics, the better you will do. Okay.
Should we take some live questions, Mir?
I'm sorry, live questions? Yeah, let's do it. Jiku, can you?
Yeah, so we should go with Gauri.
Okay. Hi, Gauri.
Gauri, you can unmute.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, sir, I am a third-year engineering student, computer science engineering student. I have gone through all the Fulbright scholarship and Nehru scholarship, but there is nothing like which a computer science engineering student can like do. Like there is nothing like scholarship in present there. So
Sure.
I want to know if.
Yeah, so maybe computer science is not supported directly, but what I would suggest you should do under the Fulbright thing is take their email address and write to them. Say, I'm doing computer science. This is what I want to pursue. Is there any scholarship or is there any program which can support me?
Okay.
For this? My understanding is that MS programs are not generally supported. They are usually looking at, so for example, they don't even support MBA for that matter. Right. So the Fulbright scholarships are mostly looking at public leadership, public health, journalism, law, right? They're looking at those specific things, but they may still have some sort of support available. Please write to them. That would be the best way forward for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Even if like they don't, they'll at least be able to direct you to like, other organizations which does.
Precisely. Get into this habit, all of you, get into this habit of writing and creating opportunity, instead of waiting. Okay, so Abdul, shall we go to Abdul? Abdul Rashid, yeah.
Abdul Rashid, you can talk now.
Please, yeah.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, my daughter is doing her final semester BA English Literature here in Kerala. And I would like to know what are the courses available for masters who done this English literature, and how she should start preparing and applying.
Right. Kavitha, are you going to?
Yeah, I can take that. Like, so in this is like a running joke here, like, you know, in terms of specialization, you can find like 200 things to specialize in your masters, like in Harvard. Whether it's like taking a master's, like, you know, specializing mostly looking at Arabic studies, to like, you know, looking just at the stars, to looking at like, you know, humanities, to public health, to anything that you want to do. So the best way to kind of like, it would be easier if you sort of narrow down, because even within English literature, there is like, you know, so many sort of interventions and theories that she can, you know, sort of focus on. Or if she wants to pivot from that, like, you know, is she trying to go into education? Is she trying to, exactly, like, you know, coming onto the policy side of like, you know, of this. So easiest thing would be go to these websites and have a look at the different courses that are available. Start like, you know, drilling them into like, you know, what are the specific subjects that these cover. That will give you some idea for like, you know, to build on like what to do next. And again, like look beyond Harvard, look at least 4 or 5 different universities, so that you can actually have like a pecking order in terms of, okay, maybe for humanities, this university's ranking is a lot better, or at least the professors have written a lot more research papers, or like, you know, have won a lot more awards, or like, you know, a lot more renowned in that field. That would be something that I definitely do. So narrow the scope a lot down, because if you go with something like that, it'll be very difficult for you to, you know, pick a particular course. So have a look at the websites, and that's the first thing that I would actually advise her to do.
So I've put up a link to the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. You can go there, see the number of courses that are there. Our master's courses on down, undergraduate. Our master's and a graduate and a word using. So bachelor's and undergraduate. So undergraduate courses, graduate courses, that's requirements. The number requirement endana. Our exploration തുടങ്ങണം. Exploration തുടങ്ങിയാൽ അതിനുശേഷം അവിടെ ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ക്ലാരിഫൈ ചെയ്യാൻ ഒരു പ്രത്യേക ഇമെയിൽ അഡ്രസ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ ഇമെയിൽ അഡ്രസ്സിലേക്ക് എഴുതാൻ നിങ്ങൾ തുടങ്ങണം. യു സീ സംതിങ്, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സംശയങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടായാൽ നേരിട്ട് അവിടേക്ക് ഒരു ഇമെയിൽ നിങ്ങൾ അയച്ചാൽ 100% they'll reply. They will reply, okay. And then start off a back and forth. Start off with that process is what I would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Shall we go back to the Q&A here?
Sure.
All right. So thank you for answering my previous question on timing. I'm an Indian diplomat in Taiwan from Kerala. She is to be released from her duty next year after 7 years of service, and the application is in December. Would it be wise to apply for scholarships and then go ahead with... Okay, so I'm going to answer this very quickly. You can apply for in December. The scholarship applications will come up only in January. Okay, so the Harvard scholarship applications, the deadline will be 28th January or something like that. Okay, so you still have 20 days to submit your application. You can submit the application, and then the scholarship thing will follow after that. Okay, admission applications come first. Okay, going abroad, is it must to have a 700 GMAT score for a Harvard MBA? I don't think that is necessary. There is no cutoff. If you go to the Harvard Business School website and just check out what is the GMAT score range. Actually, Kavitha is an MBA, so maybe Kavitha can answer that. My understanding is no, there is no cutoff per se. Yeah.
No.
Kavitha?
That's right, Mir. There's no hard cutoff, but I would typically assume it's like more than 650 is like ballpark. Like, but they would have like the ranges there, but HBS like and HLS, like, you know, there is a lot of emphasis on your GRE scores.
Right.
That is the Harvard Business School and Harvard Law School that I'm referring to.
Yeah, and even in the Kennedy School, I would say that maybe the course we are doing doesn't have that much, but the MPP and the MPID, they have a minimum 75 percentile requirement in your GRE. Okay. I want to apply to Harvard for my law degree. To apply, I'm using a common interface called Common App. I am not aware of Common App. are there external options by which I can apply by myself and not through a third party? I would presume that there would be options for applying yourself because that's how most of us do it. A common app at this point of time, I'm not in a position to answer. What is the process of applying to Fulbright? usief.org. Visit the website. I've already shared the link in the chat. The cycle will begin next March. So that's when they're going to call applications for the for next year. What are the scholarships available from Harvard, and can you speak more about financial aid? I think that's already answered. If not, you can probably have access to this video. Will the video be available somewhere, Jiku?
Sorry?
Will this video be made available to attendees?
Yeah, we will be publishing the summary of this on Tuesday's issue.
Okay. And what about the recording?
So mostly I'm not sure about that. So we will be publishing the summary of this.
All right.
Okay.
So Harvard has a bunch of scholarships, and you first put in your application and then you apply to all the scholarships that they have. And hopefully you get some support. Then can you get into Harvard with a 3-year degree? I don't think so, because my understanding is that for doing graduate studies in the US, you need a 4-year degree. So yeah, you'll either have to do a PG. I'm actually not 100% sure about this. Kavitha, do you have any idea in terms of, suppose I have a 3-year degree, is there something else I can do to bridge, or do I have to do a PG or something like that? I don't know how it works. It's actually
it's a good question. Like and we would need to check on this. I don't remember reading anything on the admission.
What is the way to make a 3 into a 4? Is there some additional course you can do, or do you have to do a master's in order to bridge that gap? That's something we should find out. Again, this is an answer that I'm going to keep giving you repeatedly because it is the best way to find out. I would say just write to them. Go to the Harvard Kennedy website, whichever school that you're applying to, and just apply. Just write them. I have a 3-year thing. How can I make it into 4 years? Do I have to do a master's? Typically, what do students do? You'll get some reply, and you can probably share that reply with on your social media so that it's beneficial for many others. Then can we do a PhD in biotechnology in Harvard? Yes, absolutely. You can do a PhD in biotechnology. There's the engineering school here. There is the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. So there are so many people who are doing the PhD in theoretical physics. There are people who are doing the PhDs in, like Kavitha said some time back, there's a specialization for everything, right? And the good thing about a PhD program is that you can actually, you'll get full funding and you'll get a stipend as well. I am so impressed with young Indian boys and girls who I keep meeting over here, who come from all different parts of India. Not all are IITians, not all are NIT students or IIM grads, etc. Coming from all different parts of India, studying science, being good at science, doing the PhDs here. And so whoever, you may be, wherever you may come from, build a decent profile, publish something, apply. Your chances of getting in are actually higher than you think, honestly. What do you think is a suitable time for a person to get into Harvard? Anything, Kavitha?
Exactly, like because you have at so many levels, right? Like you could go for your undergrad or your grad or your PhD, but I would my personal opinion is like to make the most of like the experience of being there, having a few years of experience under your belt, and then going there. So you bring a lot more perspectives into that conversation, and you learn a lot more. You're still like a sponge trying to absorb from everything going around you, rather than like we have friends in our course who are like in their 50s, who've come back to school and decided to like kind of focus or reorient their life in a particular way. So there is no upper limit to when you can come and when you can actually do do something for enhancing your purpose in life.
True. So
Go ahead. There's just one thing that I wanted to answer because it's quite similar to my journey. So, but like, go ahead. Whatever you wanted to follow up with.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. Don't be in a rush. Take your time. get some experience, because the more experience you get, the more you know about the world. നമുക്ക് college വിട്ടിട്ട് immediate ആയിട്ട് ഇവിടെ കയറാതെ കുറച്ച് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് ഗ്യാദർ ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ വെറുമ്പോൾ കവിത പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നമുക്ക് നല്ല പെർസ്പെക്ടീവ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് അനുസരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റ്സ് ടാർഗറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. So I would say it's a good idea to come for a master's. If I had to choose between the two, I would say that master's is a good idea. Yes, go ahead, Kavitha. Is there something you wanted to take from the list?
Yeah, just, I mean, not exactly related, but like Megha, like who's doing BTech from IIT Palakkad, but who's not interested in engineering. I'm sure like you found a lot of people here like
Is it in the list?
It's in the Q&A. And I think like if you were there for the intro, you must have listened to both of us speaking about it. So you wanted to switch to business management. Is it right to go for like masters immediately after undergrad or get some experience? I would always say go for experience, because even for an MBA, like, you know, actually understanding how a business works is important, and you can't understand that by looking at it from outside. Being part of the system always helps. So work, like whichever it is, need not be as an engineer, since you don't like engineering, like unlike Mir and me. But do go and work and get some experience, and then think of doing your masters. You'll learn a lot more, and you'll appreciate the course contents a lot more.
Great. Details about admission for graduation, I think that's already answered. Then I'm Lakshmi. I'm studying in 9th standard. Hi, Lakshmi. I'm from middle class family. My dreams to get degrees and graduate in the US. Yeah, so 9th standard, it's great that in 9th standard you're thinking about this. ഞാൻ 9th ഇരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഈ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഞാൻ സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഒന്നും ചിന്തിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. So I think നല്ല തുടക്കമാണ്. നന്നായിട്ട് പഠിക്കുക, concentrate on your studies, get good grades. I think that's very important. Second thing I would say is please also focus on extracurricular activities, one sport, one musical instrument, one art form, anything. Pick up something like that outside of academics, and become good at it, because it'll add value. Harvard inde admission vendi illa nan paranu. And it's like Kavitha said, we should not get fixated about one particular university or one particular place. It's about enhancing our own personality and basically living up to our own potential, right? That's about it. So just do that much for now. Don't worry too much about anything else. Just focus on learning new things, having new experiences, but never losing sight of academics. That's the most important thing. That's what I would tell you.
Can we take some direct questions?
Yes, let's do that.
So it's time for Ansaf.
Sure.
Ansaf, you can speak now.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
First of all, thank you for the class. And my name is Ansaf. I'm from Trishur.
Okay.
I just want to become a Harvard lawyer.
Okay.
I just completed my +2 last year.
Okay.
So I just need the directions or the steps I should take.
Yeah. So I think you should target the LLM course. I think after you do your bachelor's in India, after that you can certainly apply for an LLM program. LLM is actually covered by the Fulbright scholarship as well. So what I would suggest is just look at the Fulbright application next year. I know there's a long way to go for you to complete your graduation and then apply, but have a look at the kind of questions that they're asking, and then see throughout that years of your experience how you can gather different experiences, and so that you can sort of become eligible for and become a competitive candidate for applying for these scholarships. Okay, so your journey is all, I think, 4 to 5 years ahead. Yeah, so start off with that, and look at the LLM application today. I would say go online, look at what they're asking in an LLM application. Kavitha had told you about multiple essays that she had written for Harvard Kennedy School. Similarly, for Harvard Law School, what is being asked in the essays, etc. Build your resume and do that over a period of 4-5 years. You'll be fine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next.
This Anamika. Anamika, you can speak now.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, ma'am.
I'm from Palakkad, but currently I'm doing my first year BTech Mechanical Engineering in IIT Nagpur. So I just want to know, like, in which branch you both did engineering, and why you shifted, or what encouraged you to shift from engineering field to a very different kind of field. Can you explain me in detail?
Sure, Kavitha, I'll let you take that first.
Sure. So, Anamika, thank you, and all the best for your course as well. So for me, so I did my engineering in electronics and communication. That was the rage at the time that I decided to do my engineering. Everybody wanted to do ECE. So like I mentioned, like, I didn't really know, like, at 17, 18, what I wanted to do. I just like went with like what everybody else was doing. I enjoyed engineering. Actually, that made it even more confusing. And people all around me were like, sort of like, planning to pursue masters in science, post that, like in universities abroad. But I think like what kind of helped for me was like in one of my, it was in third or I think final year of engineering, I had a subject called economics for engineers. And it kind of like opened my mind to like, how sort of like the microeconomics part of it, like in the whole supply demand and how things actually work in the systems that we live in. And it also helped that like my dad is a banker, and most of our dinner table conversations used to be about like, economics and banking and things like that. But it took me a long while to connect those two and figure out that that's what my interest is, and that's a path that I should go into as well. And it could be very different journeys for and very different experiences for different people. So I mean, yeah, if you enjoy science and you see yourself pursuing like, some path in that, either in terms of like, being a product engineer or being a service engineer, or like, someone who is even potentially doing research in this space and creating new things, you should continue doing this. There's no reason. And like what Mir just mentioned, policy is something that you can always go back to, because you have like, policy for science, policy for health, like, at some point in your career, you feel that you, as like, at that micro level, if you're not able to make change and you want to sort of, integrate with stakeholders at different levels and engage with them and actually make things happen, you can always migrate to policy at some point in your career.
Thank you so much, ma'am. What about you, sir?
Me, I wasn't a very good engineer, yeah, as simple as that. So, and then I decided to shift, and I got into the IAS. I'm not like you. You're in NIT, so you must be very good. And
not that much, sir.
No, all NIT, IIT people say this only, that they're not very good. But if you guys are not very good, then who's good? But anyway, so yeah, good luck with your engineering. And my thing, I was more interested in the arts and sciences, actually speaking. So that really was my thing. I like more history and political science and storytelling and all of that. So, yeah.
So one more question is like you have studied both in Indian University and in Harvard. So what's the difference you found there in the communities, faculties, education, and everything?
Yeah, so this is something that we answered in the beginning. So, but to very quickly summarize, I think the rigor is very different here. We are not examination oriented. It's more assignment oriented, reading oriented. So every week you have assignments, every week you have challenges, every week you have readings. And it's not so much about waiting till the examination starts and then doing it. Then the diversity helps, because if you're in an Indian university, you'll be mostly surrounded by fellow Indians. Whereas here you'll be surrounded by people from all over the world with different opinions and different points of view. And that's quite interesting and challenging as well. Okay, so thanks, Anamika.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm just going to run through a few questions very quickly. So Liz, Johnny, GPA is one of the major issues, 60 to 70%. How do we make up for GPA requirement, as this is a matrix which is out of our hands? I don't think they're very sensitive with regards to your GPA, because they tell you to convert that GPA into on a scale of 100, and they are not going to be comparing. It's not an examination mark oriented selection process. So don't worry about that, because there are literally 25 people from India who are in our cohort, and everybody has a range of GPAs. So that's not an issue at all. Then can I do an online course? Yes, you can absolutely do an online course from Harvard. There is no issue at all. You can go to edX.com, and then on edX you have edX courses by Harvard. Is GRE necessary for application? Yes, you can consider it as good as necessary. Only 1 or 2 courses may be there which will say that it is not compulsory, but still you can submit. So GRE is absolutely necessary, and good marks in GRE always help you set yourself apart from other candidates. What are the best extracurriculars to have? That is really your decision. Don't worry about trying to pick up an extracurricular for admission. I want you to pick up an extracurricular for yourself. Okay, so if you like music, pick up an extracurricular in music. If you like sports, pick up something in sports. If you like anything else, go for that. Yeah. Okay. Why did I select public administration? As you are a public administrator. Okay. So I selected public administration because I was a public administrator. I had experience in Kerala, but I also wanted to learn about what's happening in the rest of the world. What are the different systems that other people are using? How are they meeting challenges? What is the experience of professors who've been teaching public administration for such a long time? Public administration is a very wide field. It's a very, very wide field. We only look at it as government officials. Government part is just a small part of the whole thing. There are, so hence I wanted to explore learning about this in an international setting. That's what I want to do. Kavitha, you want to jump in at any point? Please feel free if you.
No, go ahead. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. Okay. Anytime, then step in. I'm just going to rush through them. Okay. 4th year law graduate. What is my probability of getting into LLM? See. You will all be very surprised at the amount of information that's available online. Okay, because that's happened to me as well. All the questions that you're having in terms of how much work experience is required, just go to the LLM website, Harvard Law School website. They will tell you how much work experience on average is there every year among the people that they are taking up. Look up what options are there for arts. I would say look up the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences website, which is GSAS. That is the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. All the options that you need will be there on that website. I'm from English Literature, qualified UGC NET. What are the courses available for? There are so many courses under English Literature. You just have to go to the faculty of, I think go to the FAS website. And there's a linguistics website. Faculty of Arts and Sciences is there, FAS. And also there's a faculty for linguistics as well. Just have a look at these 2-3 things and you'll get a sense of what is available. There are so many Indian students who are doing PhDs in English literature, and if you're already NET qualified, you'll have a good chance. Can you explain the scope of masters in computer science for international students? Again, I would say that computer science would be there in the GSAS website. There are so many people who are doing data science courses. I live in a place where around me all the people are studying data sciences. Look up those opportunities as well. Data science courses available at Harvard. They have very good employment opportunities, and many people who are in those courses are already landing jobs at Tesla and whatnot. What if you graduated long time ago and not in connection with your professors? How can you reach out to them? You don't have to you can get back to your professors, but you don't have to get admissions from recommendations from professors alone. If you have work experience over that long period of time, get recommendations from people under whom you have worked. It's not compulsory that you should get it from professors. Undergraduate program, how do you get into Harvard after? Yeah.
Sorry, just one thing, like especially if you don't have much of work experience, like for an MPP kind of program, I think it would be important to get in touch with those professors. So keep engaging with them even while you're at universities and if you're planning for this.
True, that makes sense. So keep reaching out to your professors. You thought you had seen the last of them, but no, you still have to. You still need them. Okay. How much does it help to have a recommendation letter from an alumni? Alumni at Harvard, if it's a Harvard alumni, it makes a big difference. Certainly does. They give a lot of importance to that. If it's a recommendation letter from your own alumni, your own college alumni, if you have worked with them, under some capacity, I think then it would be helpful. But simply because they are your seniors, if they write, I don't think it would have that much value. After 10th, I would suggest all of you just focus on a master's program. It's your best bet at getting in. After 10th, there is still 11th and 12th. You have to study 11th and 12th, finish your 12th standard board exam, and then you can decide whether you want to go there. Can we go to Harvard after 12? This is just the undergraduate admission process. There's something called Harvard College, Harvard University, then Harvard, and Harvard College is part of that. So Harvard College basically takes up students for a 4-year undergraduate program. It's a highly competitive program and also very expensive with few, if I'm correct, not too many options for scholarship. So do explore it online. Go to discussion forums and you'll be able to understand.
And just like we mentioned, GRE, GMAT for the master's program, like SATs are like mandatory if you need like to do any undergraduate degree abroad.
Yeah. In Kerala, the subject is not given importance. We have only UG and PG course in government college at a party. One college in capital city does not have the subject. There's no faculty member in the college council. Students don't have an opportunity to study public administration. I think you're talking about public administration here. So Asha's question, Asha, don't worry about that because not everybody who's here has studied public administration, right? I have not studied public administration. Kavitha has not studied public administration. So you can study engineering, you can study anything. But if you have a public-oriented mindset, if that is something that makes a difference to you, then certainly you can take it up. If you want to make a difference in the world on a social level or whatever level it is, you can think about that. You can write about it in your essays, and you'll have a chance of getting through. So don't worry about this. Just do your graduation properly. Apply.
Mir, shall we take some live questions?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Sure. So Linda, it's your turn. Linda Maria Jos.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Hi.
Oh. Hi, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Linda from Kochi. So I've completed my BDS degree just 2 months back. I'm a fresher. I'm a dentist now. So by God's grace, I've achieved the university first rank. So I would like to study in a premium university. I would like to do my master's in a premium university. So which is the best course for me and the scholarships available for me?
Yeah. So Kavitha, do you want to take that?
Sure. So Linda, first of all, congratulations. That's an awesome achievement. So in terms of masters, Linda, I mean, in your case, I guess the specialization is pretty clear, and so you can actually look at Harvard Medical and kind of see that what in there, and if there are any specific sort of professors that or departments within that that you want to be associated with. One thing that I definitely want to mention is in terms of the ecosystem as such, because you would be looking at multiple universities and different, and just with your academic track record, I'm sure, that there will be multiple Ivy League institutions that you're aiming at. But from the medical perspective, I think the ecosystem that you have in Boston, in terms of access to medicals, academia, biotech, all of it, is kind of set up in this city. So that's something that I would definitely consider. If you are thinking about masters at this point, I would sort of put Harvard Medical School right up there in terms of your to be on your preference list.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So Kavitha, I would suggest you take the questions with the hand raised questions, and I'm going to just type out some answers in the.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sachu Sakriya John, you can speak now. Sachu?
Sir, can you hear me, sir? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
I can hear you.
I am a graduate in agriculture and postgraduate in agricultural economics and a PhD in rural market management. I have got a net in ASRB net in agricultural economics. I would like to pursue a postdoc. Then what is the scope in postdoc in economics, agricultural economics for a marketing management, rural marketing management? Is there any scope?
Scope? Are you talking about getting an admission, or scope in terms of like, your work as such?
Admission, or as an assistant professor or something? Is there how postdoctoral fellowship?
So I would say like there are a lot of postdoc opportunities depending upon like, where the research interests are of the universities. So if you are pretty clear that like, that's the area that you want to engage your research in, what you need to find out is which are the universities which are actually allocating funds to researching these industries or these sectors. So best way to find out is like, the number of publications that is coming out of these institutions in like, subjects of your interest. That shows like, there is a lot of work being done. So another thing that you could potentially do is like also track like, the profiles of different professors who are like, sort of like the leading authorities in this space. Again, like follow their work and kind of understand like, it'll give you at least like, 2 or 3 sort of institutions where you can focus on. This requires a lot of like convincing professors, I would say, more than the universities in terms of, because you kind of like, would be working very, very closely with them. And the transition to like, the assistant professor sort of role that sort of happens naturally, to be honest, because there's a lot of benefit of having like, such people who have done a lot of research work in the classroom settings. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I would be more like, focused on getting into the right institutions in terms of like, where there is actually emphasis on the kind of work that you are interested in, since you have like a very, very concentrated scope of work.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Achu.
I would just like to answer a question on essays and all of that. See, when you write your essays, regarding how to make your resume, just go online and find out different types of resumes, models are available, you can fill it up. Regarding essays, your essays should have a certain, I would recommend this, that you talk about what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to achieve, or you start off with what you have done. So I would say first talk about what you have done so far, what it is that you want to do, and then how can the university help fill that gap. Okay, so that way you'll have to find out about the university, about the courses that are offered over there. You can get a little bit specific and say, this is what I want, I have done. This is the subject that I care about. This is what I want to, I have done so far. I want to achieve this. And these particular courses, this particular professor, this particular program will help me do that. That's the general, a general template, I would say. But obviously, final decision is yours. But yeah. Go ahead, Ria.
Ria, it's your turn. Ria Anna Roy. Sorry, Ria and Roy.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, I'm a undergraduate student, first semester in BSc Maths and Statistics. So I want to know if there's a good opportunity that I can do my MSc in, as a statistician or an actuarial science MSc in Harvard, and what are the different kind of scholarship I can apply for?
So Ria, in terms of like the specific courses, I would again sort of like, advise that the best way to find out about it is actually go to the websites and like, sort of navigate those pages to understand what, I mean, because it's not just about the name, like the title, like if you dig deep, like, you would even understand like what exactly, is it research based? Is it like, more project based? Is it like, course, like, in terms of actual courses? So it depends upon what kind of like, works well for you as well in that, in terms of format of the class. And funding, I would say like, again, the Harvard funding options are kind of like you have depending upon the courses that you do. So since we are coming from the policy side of like, the school, there are a lot of it is like, it could be at a country specific level. So like, if you're coming from India, there are like, certain funding categories that you are, that you can apply for. a lot of like our Harvard specific funding. So which we again spoke about like, earlier in this webinar, like in terms of like you have to write these application essays as well as the funding sponsorship essays, like, as a part of your application process. But I would strongly recommend that you actually go to the website and start looking at these courses now itself, even if you are in like, in the early part of your undergraduate degree, so that you kind of like have a path towards it. And we mentioned early on, like, so that you can kind of towards what you want to like, sort of pivot towards as well.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhea.
So Jasmine Joji.
It's about to be, I think it's been 90 minutes since we started. So I don't know how much capacity Kavitha has left. It's already 1 a.m. here.
Exactly.
So yeah, so Kavitha, feel free to exit if it's getting too late.
Sure.
Hello, I am Jaswin Joji from Palakkad.
Hi, Jaswin.
So I have completed my engineering. So I wanted to you mentioned about writing articles for newspapers. So I am an engineering graduate. I don't have any background in journalism and things like that. But if I want to write some articles, like would the newspapers accept them, or is there any predisposed topics to which I should focus on to write articles? So what is the procedure there?
I'll take that. I would say that if you're trying for a public administration course, you can write on anything regarding that has, you can write on anything that has relevance for the public at large. You can write a small essay on, you can write a small article on engineering education in India, about what you feel are the strengths, what you feel are the weaknesses. You could write about how science is taught in India. Right? You can read up a little bit about it. I don't know what issues you really care about. So when you find out that you care about something, it's not that you start writing it immediately. You do a little bit of research. There are so many people who would have already explored what you want to write about. And then after that, you write to a newspaper, and I'm sure they'll be happy to publish it. It could be a newspaper, it could be a magazine. Maybe Jiku can answer this question. So,
Jasmine, പത്രങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത്തരം സ്ലോട്ട്സ് ഉണ്ട്, എസ്പെഷ്യലി പബ്ലിക്കിൽ നിന്ന് എടുക്കാനുള്ള സ്ലോട്ട്സ് ഉണ്ട്. But it will be depending upon the topic and the availability of space. അപ്പോൾ അതനുസരിച്ചിട്ടായിരിക്കും അത്തരം കണ്ടന്റ് നമ്മൾ ക്യൂറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതും എടുക്കുന്നതും ഒക്കെ. So it will be.
So I just need to mail the articles after I have written them, right?
Yeah, you can mail it, but it will be എന്താ പറയാ, നമ്മൾ അതിന്റെ സ്പേസ്, അതിന്റെ ആ ഒരു സാഹചര്യം അതെല്ലാം പരിഗണിച്ചിട്ടായിരിക്കും സെലക്ട് ചെയ്യുക. ഓക്കെ.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just one more thing. There are a lot of people asking about how to write a good resume and all of that. One thing you can do is just go online, and on YouTube you will have universities conducting small discussions on what they expect from a resume. Okay, so universities themselves will have, for example, if you look at you take a Wharton Business School, and you'll find out that they have some video over there on how to write a good resume, what their expectation is. You can start off with that, and then online itself you will have so many formats which can fulfill what they are saying. So yeah.
So Kavitha, how many questions we can take up?
Shall we just like club a few, so that if it's a common theme, like, we can just maybe 2-3.
Okay, what about the direct questions?
No, let's take the direct questions only. Let's take Sania, Vandana, and Lalu. Three of them can just ask one by one quickly. Yes. And then we can, yeah.
Sania, Vandana,
yeah,
Lalu,
perfect.
Francis, and Amal. Four of them.
Yep, let's
go. Sania, you can go first.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. My name is Fatima Sania. So currently I have enrolled for the integrated sociology program, which is the, in India's and Kerala's first batch. So it's a sociology. And for me, like for past 2 years, I have been, I just literally want to go to USA. So US was my dream. And 2 weeks back, I have applied for the HPAIR, the Harvard conference. And yeah, I have got selected for the early bird conference. I'm so happy. So it is going to take place on February 17th, I guess. And tomorrow night also, I'm having an interview with the co-president of this Harvard, community. So the thing is that, I'm having just 2 months left for this conference. So currently the college, I'm not going to disclose my college, but the environment currently I'm staying is like literally a, huge trouble for me. So I'm reading many books. Okay. I'm reading many
Sorry,
books.
go ahead. Be recorded.
Okay, sir. Okay, the thing is that I'm reading many books and, I'm cultivating in my language skills. Like for the past 2 years, I have been improving my American accent and all those stuff. I know that this event is basically, the collaboration between the 7 Asian countries. And ultimately, like my dream is to become an Indian foreign servant. So why I'm asking this question is that I'm having just 2 months left. So I want a lot of tips and like what are things I have to do, like being in this environment, how I can cope up with all those things. I hope my question is clear. Sir, hello.
So are we taking the questions first?
We will take 3-4 questions together. So Sanya, you'll have to wait. We'll just hear the others and then we'll
Okay, Vandana, you can speak now.
Good morning, sir and ma'am. I am Vandana, currently pursuing my bachelor's in history and tourism from Chennai. I want to ask that what are the negative things you feel in the education system of Harvard? And the other question is, you told that during the admission process, they will be asked about references, because for confirming the information we gave, so that reference people will be layman or any people from a prestigious positions. These are the 2 questions I want to get answered.
Okay, next is Lalu Francis.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. I'm Ronica, and I'm 11th grade biomath student in Ernakulam. So my question is like, if you have a passion towards one subject, but your aptitude is to another, which one would you pick? And at Harvard, what do they prefer? Like, do they test you on your aptitude or on your passion? Like, can you explain on your experience?
Okay, got it. Next is Amal Ashok Kumar.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Go ahead. Okay. Thank you, sir, for making this opportunity for us. So I am currently doing my PG in psychology. So I wish to become a trainer of an international level so that I can train people into better bureaucrats, better administrators, and generally better human beings to fulfill their potential. So in your experience, is there any particular courses that is related to this aspect in Harvard or any such premier universities?
Okay. So 4 questions.
All right.
Mir, I think you should take Sania's question.
Okay. So in terms of the next 2 months, I would just suggest, first of all, don't be so nervous about it. I don't think it's as big a deal as you're making it out to be. It's just normal. If you're traveling to this place, you'll come here and then you'll meet people and you'll see more similarities here than you'll see differences. So don't worry. Just keep reading. Just keep reading about it. Whatever conference that you're planning to attend, be well prepared for that. If you're going to make a speech, if you're going to give a talk, even if you're going to make comments, write down those comments, refine those comments, practice them. Just focus on that aspect. Don't worry about don't worry about the accent and all of that. We are both here. Neither of us are speaking in an American accent, I'm sure. Right? So don't worry about these things. Focus on the purpose of your visit or your participation in the particular conference and do that job well. The more you practice, the better you'll do. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, next. I can take Vandana's question. So Vandana, on the references, like, I had mentioned, so these are people that, I mean, I don't know what exactly you mean by layman, but like these are people that you either have studied under or like, you have worked with, who've been like your managers in projects or at least your peer, like, but like who has, some sort of view or like, some sort of like authority, like to actually give some perspectives on where, like, what the contribution, like your contribution was to that organization or to that project or to any endeavor that was, that you might have participated in and that you want to highlight. So, I mean, I would say that spend a lot of time in figuring out like what is it about your profile and your resume that you want to, bring to like you want to highlight, and that would give you some perspective on like who do you want to shortlist in terms of references. Reach out to a lot of people in that process, and negatives about Harvard. So that's a thing like which Mir just mentioned. If there's anything that's like there's negative in Harvard, like they basically ask you to take ownership and change it. Work with this system. It's like, in fact, like the Harvard Kennedy School, basically the school's motto is like, ask what you can do. So it's very easy for us to like, sit out there and critique an institution, a government, like, another individual. But it's more about like, listening to different voices, different opinions, and like, actually seeing that what you can do to change that system if you really believe that there is a need for change, and how you can mobilize like people to support you in that endeavor. And that's what the school teaches. So if that's something that you're passionate about, then this is definitely a place where you should come.
Thank you.
You're
Nice.
welcome.
Okay, what were the next two questions?
I think I forget her name, Lalu Francis, but it was about passion and aptitude, and I kind of like had a chuckle and thought of you, Mir. So I think you should go for it.
Okay, so I would say that try following your passion, but if your passion is not in front of you, then do whatever you do, do it well. That's very important. Take my own example. I'm not passionate about engineering. I got engineering. I didn't do very well. I should have done much better, but I didn't do very well, and then I regretted it later. I regretted it 10 years later when uploading my transcripts for the Harvard application. At that point, I was thinking, why did I not do well in my engineering? And when I was not doing well, I was telling myself that this is not my passion. My real passion is political science. My real passion is history, and that's where I'll do well. And so that's a wrong idea that we have. And this is for everybody who's listening. This is not just for Lalu. There will come moments in your life where you have to do things that you don't really want to do, right? But you should still do them well, because if you do them well, you will really you will develop skills, and you will really enjoy doing what you're passionate about when you get a chance to do it. Because even when you encounter your own passions, when you come across, say, let's say I'm very passionate about movies. I'm going to make this very quick. If I'm very passionate about movies, I may not be passionate about every aspect of filmmaking. I may like writing, I may not like directing. I may like directing, I may not like editing. I may like editing, I may not like production design. But can I be a good filmmaker if I say I'll only do what I'm passionate about? I'll only do production. I will not care about writing and directing and editing and all that. No, you can't. If you want to be a good filmmaker, you have to do all of these things. So even inside our passions, there are things that we like and things that we don't like. So we can't always keep following passion. We will never find that perfection. So whatever's before you, just do that. At the same time, don't deliberately ignore your passions. And also remember, you can do more than one thing at a time. We believe, like, suppose I'm doing engineering, okay, but my passion is political science. It doesn't mean that I can never read political science. I can do my engineering also. And then on weekends, every day there's so much time, I can sit and read all the political science that I want, all the sociology and philosophy that I want. Two things can happen simultaneously. You can engage both. Okay, next.
I think there was Amal's question on, I would just say that like anything which is specifically course related, to be honest, there is no specialization that you would find that it's not available at Harvard in one of the schools. So it's more about like, you actually going through the websites and narrowing down like on like, possibly 4 or 5 courses, and then reaching out to these admission teams, like to understand these courses better. Most of them have like a lot of calls around the admission cycle. So you're kind of asking this question at the right time. In the next 2 months, they'll be hosting a lot of calls. Get on them so you'll understand the courses better. And you can actually direct these questions directly to those admissions team as well. And that will give you better understanding of it.
So remaining 6 questions remaining. Okay. So shall we club it?
Sure, let's go for that.
Okay. So first, Grishma Tangachan. Grishma,
hello.
Are you there? Yes.
Hello.
I'm currently finished my master's degree in botany, and I'm planning to do either PhD or master's in astrobiology or astrobotany. So, would you recommend me is it okay if I do PhD right away, or should I go for master's and then do my PhD? And I also have a second question, that is net qualification necessary for the PhD application as well?
Okay, Grishma. Next is Alina. Alina, your question, please.
Okay, so I have like a single question. I actually got admitted to 9 universities, and I'm actually looking forward for 3. And my question is like, which state should I go? One is California, Texas, and New York, and there's West Virginia. And I am a food technology graduate. I have a gap year. I completed my graduation in 2021, and I have a gap year. And since I think there's a kind of a recession going on in US, because like lots of there is a lot of employees that are fired. So I'm like scared. I don't know which state to go. So I'm in a situation of dilemma. I really want to know which would be better for my MBA after graduation, where I can stay longer in US. Which state would be better? So that's my question.
Okay, next is Shreya. Shreya.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, so I am pursuing my undergrad degree in zoology right now. It's my second year. And I took up zoology because I was passionate about it, and I still am. But recently, I have this newfound interest in psychology. And so I'd like to know if it is possible to pursue an MA after a BSc degree. I'm still at the confused stage, but like, is it possible to do that? And are psychology courses available in Harvard, like as a double major, maybe like psychology and philosophy, linguistics, something like that?
Okay, next is Ashwin Koshi.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
My question is that which state should I prefer? Like, which Ivy League university should I prefer for MBA in finance?
Okay, got it. Next is Jinkle Xavier. Jinkle Xavier, are you there? You can unmute. Okay, next is Abhijit.
Hi, I'm an engineering student. I'm currently 4th years, and my question is that I currently have a backlog. So does that affect my chances of getting an admission? And the other question I have is there any way to get a waiver in application fees to universities? Because when you go for a business school, you mostly apply to a lot of different universities, so they all have an application fee.
Okay, so these are the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, can start with Grishma's. I mean, I don't know the specifics of like, PhD requirement, but one thing I can definitely say, like any sort of PhD program in the US or anywhere abroad, like, would be an integrated kind of program. Like you would have like your master's, especially if you're kind of trying to do a PhD in a field, which is where you've previously not done your master's in. And like, again, I think we kind of touched upon this earlier. Here, like what you need to be looking at is like your specific field and which universities have like, a lot of funding for driving research and projects in that particular field. So it's not just about like, having the degree being offered in that university. You would have to do a bit more investigation in terms of looking at like research papers, in terms of like, conference presentations, like, and seeing that like, which are the universities which are kind of like, lot active in the space that you're interested in, which I presume is botany. So you would have to do a bit of a legwork on that side, and it'll be mostly like an integrated kind of program. Mir, do you want to take Alina's question on like US recession and which state to target?
Yeah, I don't know whether you should decide your thing based on the state, because you can study wherever and then move to whichever state that you want to move to. That option is there. I would suggest that you should go based on the university's quality and on the basis of the funding that is available. If you find yourself spending too much in one place, whereas you're getting an equivalent education in another place that is not asking you to spend that much, you should take a call based on that, because at the end of the day, once your course is completed, you can move to wherever, right? So rank your universities and then make a decision based on, I would say make a decision based on the ranking and the finance, your financial conditions. That would be my opinion, but yeah.
And like just to add, like, I mean, also look for universities where you have like a pretty solid recruitment sort of support, at least like since you're going for an MBA. And like, so even during recessions, like, the top schools definitely find ways to place their students, because that's where the network and like the alumni sort of support comes in, like, and so you should kind of look at that in kind of finalizing the schools, more than like, trying to tap into one state. And there was this question from Shreya on zoology and psychology. One thing I realized after coming here is that there is nothing which is impossible to do here. You can do you can club subjects which you've you never thought there was any interlinkages, and actually find like interlinkages between those systems. So I would say absolutely go for it. There are a lot of like offerings under psychology at like Harvard. It's about like what exactly you want to do in there. And also in terms of kind of pivoting, like, from like an undergraduate degree in like, I don't think like no one holds a gun to your head like and says, oh, this is where you've done your specialization in undergrad, and that's what you're like, the rest of your life is supposed to be. If that was the case, none of us like would be doing what we are doing currently. So always like, find avenues for making it happen, and there definitely are options. And in fact, like it's pretty much like, every sort of profile that you see of students coming in here, it's very, very diverse. It's not like, like a natural sort of progress. People explore, people find what they're good at over time and kind of gravitate towards it. Do you want to take the question on backlogs in engineering and the application fee from?
Sure. So regarding backlogs, if you have backlogs, that means you won't have a degree certificate. And if you don't have a degree certificate, then you won't be able to apply. So you should clear your backlogs, get your degree certificate, and then apply. That is one. And then the second part of the question was regarding application fee waiver. They allow the waiver of, I'm sorry?
Yes, it's the application fee waiver.
Yeah, so the application fee waiver is something that they do allow for specific categories of people. They have a list of categories where they say if you belong to the US military, or if you belong to this, if you're applying under this scholarship or that scholarship, you can do a waiver. And then there's another one depending on the course. Each course will have a different criteria, but again, something I'm repeating, when it comes to the American universities, they do not have hard and fast rules. All it takes is an email sometimes, for them to waive the fee for you. So look at the options that are there and then send them an email. Tell them that, I come from a certain background. This is my annual income. Can you please waive my application fee or reduce it or something like that? And maybe they'll actually end up doing that. Here, the one thing that happens in over here a lot is professors will come and say that I'll admit only 60 people into this class. I will not allow more than that. And then somebody will write emails, and next thing you find out there are 100 people in the class. The classroom has changed and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff happens is based on initiative and drive. And I think all of you should exercise that when it comes to working with American universities.
So shall we wind up?
Yeah, I think
it's almost 2 hours. So it was a long session. Yeah. So thank you so much. It was a quality session. വളരെ നല്ല എൻഗേജ്മെന്റ് ഉള്ള ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാം ആയിരുന്നു. We have almost 174 questions still unanswered. Yeah, you have answered almost 66 now. 174 more pending, and you have almost answered 30 to 40 questions directly. Yeah. So I think it's a good amount. So ബാക്കി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസിനൊക്കെ അതിൽ റെലവെന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസിന് ഐ തിങ്ക് വി കുഡ് ആൻസർ ഇറ്റ് ത്രൂ ദ ബൈ പബ്ലിഷിംഗ് ദ സമ്മറി ഓഫ് ദിസ്. Extremely sorry that we couldn't take more questions. ഈ ഓഡ് ടൈം ആണ് അവിടെ. ഇപ്പൊ ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് 1 AM ആയിരിക്കും അല്ലേ അവിടുത്തെ ടൈം?
1:20.
Yeah, 1:20. Sorry, extremely sorry. So it was highly engaging session. Thank you so much. I think എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത് ഗുണകരമായി എന്നാണ് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നത്. And the participation was very good. The questions were very good questions also. So anything to add?
Yeah, I think we'll just do some closing remarks. Kavitha, you want to just say something? I'm just quickly looking at all the other questions. And so that I can sum up a few.
I saw somebody wanting to do CFA. I would say go for it. Do it. Commit yourself. It's like, it's 3 levels of exam, and like it's a lot of fun once you get into it and find a study group, and you will enjoy it. I mean, for me, again, I come back to like, one simple thing: find out what you like to do, what you want to do, and like, make that happen. Use the avenues around you to make that happen, rather than like, seeing, say for instance what Mir has done and like trying to emulate him. Really find like what drives you, what like, what is it that you want to do, and like, find ways to make it happen. And like, it's all about like, seeking opportunities and making that like, space for yourself. And you will find that like things naturally progress and flow towards you. So that's my advice. And like another thing, use LinkedIn judiciously to connect to current students. If like there is a particular program like or particular initiative that you're interested in, write careful, thought out emails introducing yourself, and like, sort of it's a good way to engage with students. So we do that a lot. There are a lot of prospective students who reach out to us through LinkedIn, and we kind of like, find time and ways to engage with them. So that's another avenue I would say that you should definitely explore. And so that means that you would have to do a bit of the legwork yourself.
Okay. Great. Thanks for that, Kavitha. So I'm just quickly going through the questions here. One thing that I'm getting, one question that is repeating itself a lot is about which courses to take and what courses are available and how much work experience is required. I understand where these questions are coming from because I was in that same exact position, but please spend a little bit of time going through the website. Spend a little bit of time going through the website. You'll find most of your questions will be answered about each course. So you want to do a language course. Somebody is asking about English literature. Just find out what are the English literature courses available in Harvard. There'll be undergraduate courses, graduate courses, postgraduate courses, and graduate courses, PhD courses, and maybe postdoctoral courses as well. You go under each thing and find out what is required. What is required under each place? How much work experience is required? How much teaching experience is required? And the moment you find that you have a doubt, make a note of it, bunch 2 or 3 doubts together, send them an email. You simply have to do this to get all the ideas that you that you want. I started doing that very late, and I was surprised at how much information is actually available on websites regarding every course. Okay, you have doubts regarding the Fulbright scholarship, simply go to the Fulbright website, read it. Will it be easy to read the first time? No, just keep looking for stuff, keep reading it. Whenever you have a doubt, send them an email, call them, and things will get clear. Then someone had asked whether Harvard is a good place for arts. I would say that any top university in the States is a good place for arts. If you get an opportunity to study here, you should take it, and you should create that opportunity for yourself. You should at least apply and see what your chances are. Okay, don't get fixated with one university. That's one thing I would advise you. So many of the professors who are teaching here are not even from here, right? So they're from all over the place. So if you get an opportunity to study abroad, which you're able to afford, you're able to get a scholarship, you should take it up, simply because of the exposure that you're getting. And finally, there's one question which says, I'm in standard 12. My friends have started to apply for applications in many colleges. I have no idea what to study. I do not have a specific direction. If you don't have a specific direction, I would advise do engineering. That usually helps. And while you are doing engineering, you will realize what you really like, which I think is one of the purposes of engineering anyway. But see, don't worry, you don't have to know everything at this point of time. When I was in 12th standard, I'll tell you my exact position. Somebody asked me, what do you want to do? My answer was, I don't know. And then my parents are telling me to do engineering, so I'm doing engineering. That's it. 99% of you will not be using your undergraduate knowledge 10 years from now. Okay, you will not even remember, you will not even be in the same field in which you're doing your undergraduation. So try to sit back and find out what are the things that make you happy. Don't think only in terms of doctor and engineer. Think larger. Think in terms of filmmaker, writer, whatever it is. You know, think in those terms. What it is that makes you happy, makes you less sad. Focus on that. Start working on it. If you're not able to full-time work on it, that's also okay. Do whatever college course that you have to do, but focus on that passion simultaneously, right? Keep engaging both things. Somewhere the two will meet. Okay, so this is not a bad situation to be in. I was in that same exact situation, and yeah, I'm fine now. So don't worry too much. All right, so I think with that we will conclude. So thanks, Jiku, for organizing this. Thank you, Kavitha, for taking time out so very late. And thank you to all of you who joined. I'm quite surprised at the amount of people who turned up. I was going to be happy with 30 people.
It's so much questions, so much participation.
Kerala has
around 450 to 500 people participated in this so far.
Yeah, Kerala has an infinite capacity for education and
exactly.
So nice.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much,
everyone.
Mir and Kavitha. Thank you so much for participating. So we shall close by this. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a nice Sunday.
Bye.